Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. Over the years, I've had a lot of questions on how do I form my sheath, my leather sheaths on my blades, and I'm going to talk to you about that, so hang tight. Be right back. As I said, I've had a lot of questions about that. It's just avoided it because other people were putting a video out or had mentioned it. But I just had an incident happen here this past week when I was packing up my gear to go on an overnighter with a friend to discuss, magazine stuff. And I was putting the LT Ride Illuminus 5 on my front seat, and as I was doing it, that's what happened. And it came out of the sheath and nicked my finger pretty good, about an 1/8 inch deep. I bled really well. The saddest part is that the end of my knife danced off the concrete driveway. Didn't like that. So hang tight. I'm going to show you every step of the way how to form that sheath so that knife will never come out. Alright guys, so the first thing that you want to do, I'm going to put on some glasses for this one. The first thing you want to do is you want to start preparing your sheath. I've got a ferro rod in here. I keep it in with a little bit of shock cord, so I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to separate the knife for just a minute. And I don't know if you could see that, but this has got bush butter all on the knife because I put it inside of the sheath and it picks it up every time it goes in. But in order to protect your knife, you're going to have to just tape it up real quick. This is 1.5 inch painter's tape. And it's just easier for me. Alright, so we're in the utility room, and the water's been running to where it's extra hot. You want to make sure you get the entire sheath saturated with hot water. I learned this when I was just a young lad on how to form a sheath to fit just about anything. And then it was reinforced to me when I went to the Marine Corps during boot camp. I was issued leather jungle boots, and man, those are uncomfortable, but they taught us the same thing that my dad taught me. Fill them with hot water, wear them till they're dry, and they'll form to your feet. Alright, so now let's move away from here and go to the studio, because you got to do this while it's hot. This next step with the clamps is very, very important. So while that is hot, we're going to put this blade right down inside of there. That feels really good. The knife sheath is very, very hot and pliable, okay? And so it's going to give us the opportunity, and this is something that I should have done before, cut some strips of cloth, right, to keep your knife from being, your sheath from being dented and boogered up and looking ugly. Alright, we got some cloth here and right here, and what you have to identify is where the problem areas are at. This is the area that allows your knife just to fall right out. So I have got a small clamp here. I think I'm going to have that right all the way up to there. Alright, these are wood clamps. Brought them from my shop. Alright, so now what we're doing is make sure now that you got what you want. Because once this is dried, you're there. Alright, now I want this one here kind of be the same thing. I want to get a different piece of cloth though. Right, okay, so I wonder why that's not tearing right. Might have to go this way. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing here. We're just making sure that we're not marring. Okay, and I got the spot where I want it to go. Open it up just a tad. And this one I may have to tighten it down this way. Yep, there we go. Alright, now take the remainder of the cloth and I'm going to go along this portion. I've got a little bit longer clamp, and that clamp is going to allow me to get that right where I want it to. Here we go. There it is. Okay. Alright, now, there it is. I've got 3 clamps on that. It might be a little overkill, but you know, you see that a lot with me. You know, I go the extra mile with this. But when it's done, I guarantee you that knife will never fall out of that sheath on me again. And the reason that's important, what if you take a tumble? Number one, you could end up cutting yourself, hurting yourself very bad. Or number two, which is just as bad, you could be separated from your knife when there's debris on the forest floor and never be able to find it again. You know, that's one of the reasons that I am an advocate for orange lanyards on your knives or whatever tools you got. You drop them on the forest floor. If you're not in a tactical situation or you're not deploying or you're not an operator, there's no reason for you not to use the orange paracord for your lanyard. So, you guys, I'll get back with you as soon as this is dry and we'll take a look at it together. Alright guys, it's been a few days since we went ahead and formed this, and I'm just going to take it apart right in front of you here so you can see, and then we're going to get a tight shot up and I can show you how to treat this right once you form your knife. But remember what it looked like, right? I use these clamps because they are the most reliable clamps that are out there. Okay, so this is absolutely formed, but one thing that you're going to find out wherever you put those clamps at, you're going to have some indentation. So let's just pull this knife out. Man, that dude is in there. So we're going to have to work with this. Yeah, it's definitely down in there. There you go. Alright, so that's what it looks, and like I said, you know, once you form that like that, man, that dude is in there. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to take the tape off, right? Make sure there are no rust spots. I got to get the close peepers for that. None so far. None so far. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get to it. One layer at a time. You know, while I'm doing this, I'll tell you, it's well worth the effort, especially on, you know, a knife of this caliber. And no rust. Nope, no rust. Left a little residue of the glue on there, but I think we're going to be able to get that out without a problem. Yeah. Coming right off. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I will make sure that we get a close-up on this. Okay, now, put this down the side of here. That is not coming out. Okay? Alright, so you guys go ahead and kill that camera and we'll get a closer shot. No, let's just leave it. I'm good with that. Okay, so let's look at the sheath first. And this is what I'm telling you here is that, you know, my main thing is that it's functional, that it works right, and my knife's not going to fall out. I don't worry about these little indentations that happen right here. I could if I was really fretting over this, I could go back, refill it again with water, and then just reshape it and get these out of there. I really don't care. What I care about is that this knife is now, if you will look at this, you see how that is? I mean, that is a perfect match. And when you put this in, it's almost like a Kydex sheath how hard that this knife is not coming out, okay? But now that you've introduced all of this water to this sheath, you're going to have to treat it. And, you know, you've heard me talk about this plenty of times. Bush butter, it's the miracle worker. So we're going to take one pad of this, right? That there, put that right there, and then, you know, you've heard me say this a lot of times, you don't have to do a lot on there. All you gotta do is rub it on there, just get it going. I want it down in those threads as well. I go all the way around it, threads back here. We'll put it on the welt as well, especially up on the top portion. Okay, see that? As you're looking at these, this is, you know, of course, the LT Wright Illuminous 5 knife, and JRE Industries is the maker of these fine sheaths. I'm telling you, the guy does a great job. All right, you see what I'm doing here? I'm getting all this done like that, especially here. Gonna get all that right there. I'm gonna go inside here, make sure I'm getting it up in there and in there. Now, the throat of the sheath is going to be done as well, and I put a generous amount in there because I like it whenever I put my blade in, it's touching the bush butter. It's having, you know, a treatment every time that you put it in there. So it doesn't matter what you're using. This happens to work better than just about anything else. You know, a lot of guys want to use neat's foot oil, which, I mean, if you get, I guess if you want to do it, you can. But this just happens to work a little bit better. because of the fact neatsfoot oil, what it does is it actually absorbs into the membrane, and when you put it on again, it absorbs more. Bush butter, on the other hand, when you put it on like I just did, the first coating is going to go into the leather. You're going to see how we're going to emulsify this, heat it up, and drive it in there. And then when you do a second coating, it actually lays on top of that second or that first one. And when you put the third one on there, which I recommend, you put the third one on there, you have got a very, very durable protection there. Okay, so now that we got it all done here, it's applied. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to rub this in, and by the heat of your hand, you're driving that bush butter into the leather, right? Gives it that warm, luster look. And again, you know, function is my goal. You know, I don't put a knife on my side for everybody to ask me, you know, about my dandy looking knife. What I want them to do is ask me 25 years from now how I preserved this sheath that long to make it look like that. Okay, so now that's the first one. Second one, it doesn't take as much. So I'm just going to do this right here. Got a little bit here. I guess I could answer the question. I've been asked, you know, how long does a pat of butter last? Well, it just depends on what you're doing. You know, if all you're doing is knives like this and sheaths, a pat of butter right there will probably do 5-6 knives easily. Maybe more. Just depends on how you put it on. Okay, so there's the second one. And you can feel the difference. Now before I put that last coating on there, I'm going to set it off to the side. It needs just a few minutes. And then my hands are full of bush butter right now. So I'm going to just rub this on here a little bit, see if it can come off easily. But I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit on these micarta scales. All right, and I'm going to put some on that blade as well. Hoping you can see that okay. Putting it down on the pommel. Drive a little bit into that ferrule. Alright, now, just like the knife, I'm heating it up. Just make sure you don't slip and hit that blade. I'm telling you, man, when I cut my finger, my little finger right there, still got a scar there, with this knife, all it did was fell down, came out of that sheath, and just the tip of it caught me. But the knives from LT Wright, when he says he puts a micro edge on those, he's not kidding. Alright, so now the bush butter is on the blade. That blade is protected. I guarantee you there's no rust that's going to happen to that knife, right? Along the spine. And if you're wondering if you have to wash it off before you use it to process any food or game or anything like that around your camp kitchen, the answer is no. You don't have to, because it's all food grade. Everything that's in here is food grade. All right, now, I've already treated this several times, you know, so now you're going to see me just kind of buff this out just a hair. Just kind of get off that, but I leave it just like that, and you can see that film that's on there, okay? And then each time that you use this knife, you're going to drive that bush butter right down into the micarta. See what that looks like? Yeah. All right, now we're going to go back here, and we're going to do a quick buff off with this. Wrap these around my fingers. That's it. Yeah. That did a great job. Alright, so now I'm going to do it one more time. And again, this is just the light stuff. And it's building up on those other two layers. Pretty simple. Alright. That's it. Now don't forget to get down in here. This is a very important part. Like I said, every time you draw your knife out, it's going to touch that bush butter. Okay? So now we're just going to go ahead and rub it in again. Can't see me rubbing my beard, but I put this on my beard. I've got friends that actually, after they do this and they shave their head, they use this on their head as well. Bush butter is good for a lot of things. There's some of you that are watching this right now, you've used bush butter. Do me a favor and write in the comments what do you think about the bush butter. Or just maybe give us some examples of what you do. Alright, look at that. Alright, we're going to let that dry before we buff it out to the hard buff. Alright, and that's probably going to take overnight for that to dry. But let's put the sheath in there, the knife in the sheath. And look at this. It snaps right in there. See that? It's not coming out. I don't worry about that divot like that. Maybe the guys from JRE are going to be gritting their teeth, or maybe LT's wanting to know what's wrong with me doing something like that. But listen, man, I had this knife slip out. It cut me. And generally speaking, when you have a custom knife with a custom sheath that's being made at two separate locations, they've got patterns and molds that they use this for this. And generally speaking, this sheath will fit a bunch of knives. So when you get it, you have to do something to it. Let's not forget the ferrule rod here. Got this ferrule rod down in here. I put a little shock cord on all my ferrule rods like this to make sure that they don't come out whenever I'm boogieing down the road in the bush. Alright, hang tight.